Phone records from the NYPD Internal Affairs Division show Detective Vincent Torrino made his fateful call at exactly 11:47 p.m. on August 18, 1987. What was a 15-year veteran cop thinking when he tried to extort money from the head of the Gambino crime family? Why did Torrino believe his police badge would protect him from the Teflon Don's wrath? How did one corrupt detective's greed turn into the most spectacular downfall in NYPD history? This is the story of when law enforcement corruption met organized crime justice, and what happened when a badge became worthless. It started 3 weeks earlier when Detective Vincent Torrino was working a routine burglary case in Howard Beach. At 42, Torrino was a 15-year veteran who'd grown increasingly bitter about his modest police salary while watching drug dealers and mobsters drive luxury cars and live in mansions. Torrino had always walked the line between legitimate police work and personal profit. He'd taken small bribes to look the other way on minor infractions, sold information to defense attorneys, and used his badge to intimidate people for personal favors. But he'd never attempted anything as dangerous as what he was planning. During the Howard Beach investigation, Torrino had stumbled across something extraordinary: surveillance photos from an FBI stakeout that had somehow ended up misfiled in the local precinct's evidence room. The photos showed John Gotti meeting with several underbosses outside a social club, along with detailed notes about family business discussions. "This is gold," Torrino whispered to himself as he studied the photographs. Pure gold. The detective saw an opportunity that seemed too good to pass up. John Gotti was riding high as the Teflon Don, having beaten 3 consecutive federal trials. But these photos and accompanying FBI notes could potentially be used in future prosecutions, information that would be worth serious money to Gotti to keep buried. Torrino spent 2 weeks planning his approach. He convinced himself that his police badge provided protection, that even John Gotti wouldn't dare harm a New York City detective. He believed he could demand payment and walk away rich, using his law enforcement status as insurance against retaliation. On August 18th, after building up courage with several drinks at a cop bar in Queens, Detective Torrino made the call that would destroy his life. "I need to speak with John Gotti," Torrino told the man who answered the phone at the Ravenite Social Club. "Who's calling?" "Detective Vincent Torrino, NYPD. Tell him I have something he wants to see. Something about some photographs that might interest him." 20 minutes later, Torrino's phone rang. "This is John Gotti." The voice was calm but carried an edge that made the detective's hands shake slightly. "You said you have photographs." "That's right, Mr. Gotti. FBI surveillance photos from a stakeout. You, some of your associates, detailed notes about family business. Very interesting material. And what do you want, detective?" This was the moment Torrino had rehearsed dozens of times. "I want $50,000. Cash. In exchange, these photos disappear forever and you never have to worry about them surfacing in court." The silence on the other end of the line stretched for 30 seconds. When Gotti finally spoke, his voice carried amusement that made Torrino's blood run cold. "Detective Torrino, let me ask you something. In your 15 years as a cop, have you ever arrested anyone connected to my family?" "What's that got to do with have you ever arrested anyone connected to my family?" Gotti repeated, his voice now carrying menace beneath the calm tone. "No, but then you don't know me very well, detective, because if you did, you'd know that I don't respond well to threats, especially from cops who think their badge makes them untouchable." Torrino felt his confidence wavering but pressed forward. "This isn't a threat, Mr. Gotti. This is business. I have something you need. You have something I want. Simple transaction." "Simple transaction," Gotti repeated slowly. "Detective, Let me explain something to you about simple transactions. In my world, when someone tries to shake me down, there are consequences. Badge or no badge. You can't touch me. Torrino bluffed, his voice rising. I'm NYPD. You want these photos to disappear or not? Bring the photos to Mulberry Street tomorrow night. 9 p.m. Come alone. The line went dead. Torrino stared at his phone, unsure whether he'd just arranged the biggest payday of his life or signed his own death warrant. But greed overcame caution. $50,000 would solve all his financial problems and fund the comfortable retirement he'd always wanted. The next evening, Detective Torrino parked his personal car on Mulberry Street and walked into the Ravenite Social Club, carrying a manila envelope containing the FBI surveillance photos. He'd worn his service weapon and kept his badge visible, believing these symbols of authority would protect him. John Gotti sat at a back table with two associates, watching the nervous detective approach. At 47, the Teflon Don was at the peak of his power and reputation, having successfully beaten multiple federal prosecutions through a combination of jury tampering, witness intimidation, and legal maneuvering. Detective Torrino. Gotti gestured to an empty chair. Sit down. Torrino sat but kept the envelope clutched tightly in his hands. Do you have my money? Gotti smiled, but his eyes remained cold. Let me see what I'm buying first. Reluctantly, Torrino slid the envelope across the table. Gotti opened it and examined the surveillance photos, taking his time to study each image and read the accompanying FBI notes. Interesting, Gotti said finally. These are definitely from an FBI stakeout. Professional quality, detailed annotations. Where did you get them? That's not important. What's important is that they disappear forever for $50,000. Gotti leaned back in his chair, still holding the photographs. Detective, can I tell you something? In 30 years of street life, I've dealt with all kinds of people. Honest cops, crooked cops, federal agents, prosecutors, judges. You know what I've learned? Torrino shifted uncomfortably in his seat. I've learned that there are two types of crooked cops. Smart ones, who take small money to look the other way and keep their mouths shut. And stupid ones, who get greedy and think they can shake down people they don't understand. I'm not shaking you down, Torrino protested. This is a business deal. No, detective. This is attempted extortion. And the fact that you're too stupid to understand the difference tells me everything I need to know about you. Gotti set the photographs on the table and leaned forward. See, you made several mistakes tonight. First mistake, you assumed I'd be afraid of these photos. Truth is, my lawyers have seen worse evidence than this and gotten me acquitted anyway. Torrino's confidence began to crumble as he realized the photos might not be as valuable as he'd thought. Second mistake, Gotti continued. You thought your badge would protect you, like I wouldn't dare touch a New York City detective. You can't. Third mistake, Gotti interrupted. And this is the big one. You assumed I'd pay you money and trust that you'd keep quiet. Detective, once you've shown me you're willing to sell information, how do I know you won't sell information about me next? How do I know this isn't a setup? The room fell silent as the implications of Gotti's words sank in. Torrino realized he'd walked into something far more dangerous than a simple business transaction. Mr. Gotti, I just want the money. That's all. I'm not looking to cause problems. But you already have caused problems, detective. You've shown me that you're unreliable, greedy and stupid. In my world, those are dangerous qualities. Gotti picked up the photographs again. You know what I think? I think these photos fell into your hands by accident. Maybe evidence room screw-up. Maybe clerical error. and instead of returning them through proper channels, you saw an opportunity to make money. Torrino's silence confirmed Gotti's assessment. Here's what's going to happen, detective. You're going to walk out of here with nothing. No money, no photos, no deal, and you're going to spend the rest of your career being very careful about how you conduct yourself. You can't just. Furthermore, Gotti continued as if Torrino hadn't spoken. You're going to discover that being a corrupt cop who tried to shake down John Gotti is bad for your health. Not because I'm going to hurt you, but because word gets around. And when word gets around that Detective Vincent Torrino can be bought, a lot of people are going to be very interested in what else you might know. The color drained from Torrino's face as he understood the implications. If other criminals learned he'd tried to sell information, his life would become incredibly dangerous. But here's the really interesting part. Gotti smiled coldly. Internal Affairs is going to receive an anonymous tip tomorrow about a detective who's been selling information, complete with evidence of your attempted extortion tonight. Torrino's world collapsed in that moment. His career, his pension, his future, all destroyed by his own greed. Please, Mr. Gotti. I have a family. I made a mistake. Yes, you did. You made several mistakes, and now you're going to live with the consequences. Gotti stood up, still holding the FBI photographs. Get out of my club, detective, and consider yourself lucky that I'm letting you walk out at all. Within 48 hours, Detective Vincent Torrino's life unraveled completely. Internal Affairs received a detailed anonymous complaint about his attempted extortion, along with evidence that led to a comprehensive investigation of his activities. The investigation revealed years of corrupt behavior, taking bribes, selling information, using his badge for personal profit. Torrino was arrested, stripped of his pension, and eventually sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. But his problems didn't end with imprisonment. Word had spread through both law enforcement and criminal circles about his attempt to shake down John Gotti. Other criminals he'd dealt with over the years began cooperating with prosecutors, providing information about his corrupt activities in exchange for reduced sentences. Torrino's fellow inmates learned about his background as a corrupt cop who'd tried to betray mobsters for money. His life in prison became a daily struggle for survival among criminals who viewed him as the worst kind of traitor. John Gotti, meanwhile, used the incident to reinforce his reputation for intelligence and ruthlessness. The story spread through law enforcement circles as a cautionary tale about the dangers of underestimating the Teflon Don. The stupid ones always think their badge protects them, Gotti told his associates weeks later. They don't understand that corruption works both ways. You can't be a little bit dirty and expect to survive in this world. The FBI surveillance photos that had started the whole affair turned out to be worthless as evidence. The case they related to had already been closed, and the statute of limitations had expired on the activities they documented. Years later, retired federal agents would use the Torrino case as an example in training sessions about the dangers of police corruption and the sophisticated methods organized crime figures used to protect themselves. For Detective Vincent Torrino, what should have been a simple $50,000 payday became the complete destruction of his life, his career, and his future. His final mistake wasn't trying to blackmail John Gotti. It was thinking he was smart enough to get away with it. The lesson resonated throughout law enforcement circles for years. Corruption might seem profitable in the short term, but when you're dealing with people who've made survival an art form, greed can be fatal. August 18, 1987. The night a corrupt cop learned that badges don't stop consequences, only delay them. And sometimes the delay makes the consequences worse than anyone could have imagined.